Thank you for clicking and welcome to my social pathology video by which you understand underlying mechanics of social problems and also by which you can reconfirm your life direction to attain true happiness on this planet Earth. This time I would like to discuss why mass shooters today do not commit suicide. My name is Dr. Samurai, a professor specialized in international social pathology and also an active prison counselor of 20 years experience. As usual, I would like to provide you some general information first, then I would like to move on to our main discussions. Are you ready? Okay, let's start. So I said more and more mass shooters today do not seem like committing suicide as opposed to those who committed mass murders decades before. Why is that? Let's look at some examples first, okay? That Dylan Roof, who did mass shootings at Charleston Church in 2015, he killed 9 and injured 1. He did not commit suicide as those Columbine shooters did. He was just arrested later on by police. And also Nicholas Cruz, who conducted mass shootings in Parkland, Florida in 2018. He killed 17 and injured also 17. He hid himself among the students who ran away from the campus after throwing away his guns. He was also arrested, never trying to commit suicide. As I have been telling you, an iron rule is neglect leads to murder-suicide, while abuse leads to serial offenses, including serial murders. So, either neglect or abuse, which is more prevalent in early childhood, decides whether that perpetrator continuously offends or he commit one-side mass shootings and end his life. That is still an iron rule. And let's check out those 2 perpetrators' background briefly. In case of Dylan Roof, when he was born, his parents were already divorced, but around that time, they got close again. But when Dylan was 5, his father remarried. That means ended their relationship again. Highly likely that during those 5 years, there was relational ups and downs, so highly likely that full attention was not paid to Dylan because of the conflicts between parents. And after 5, he followed his father, who got married with Paige, the stepmother. She loved Dylan unconditionally. But they also divorced 10 years after, which means around Dylan was 15 years old. Then Dylan went back to live with his biological mother, Amy. Amy was used to be a bartender, and she liked that kind of lifestyle. So it was reported that even after stepmother Paige divorced with Dylan's father, biological mother Amy showed up to Paige's house to leave Dylan with her before Amy goes out. So we can see high possibility of emotional neglect with Dylan. And Dylan's maternal uncle, that means mother's brother, allegedly said Dylan's social withdrawal was severe, and he didn't have job or driver's license, and he was all the time in his room, pretty much retreated. So this Charleston church case, Dylan was pretty much neglected. When he was born, during the first 5 years, then a little bit happier days with stepmother Paige, but it was cut at the 15. And his biological mother often left Dylan for her own interest. What about Nicholas Cruz? He was adopted as soon as he was born. His biological mother had many criminal records, including violent ones. Adoptive parents Linda and Roger took him in. However, when Nicholas was 6 or so, the adoptive father Roger died. Their life became economically difficult. Linda was cranky, seeing that Nicholas was playing video games all the time. She got irritated and pulled off the plugs and hide the console in somewhere that Nicholas couldn't find. That means it is undeniable that this adoptive mother, although she loved Nicholas in her own ways, was a top-down character person, like do things when kids do not follow her order. So the kind of pattern could have been seen before Nicholas' adoptive father died at 6. So in this Parkland High School shooting case, although it was not the direct physical abuse, and the same kind of elements were found, it angered him because right in the middle of enjoying something, his dopamine was high, but it was suddenly cut off by his mother. It must have angered him. And also he changed schools 6 times after he entered middle school. So his problematic temper started to come out. And those were considered to be offensive acts or words to his peers. And it is known that Nicholas even physically attacked his stepmother, Linda. And allegedly Linda almost gave up on him due to his short-tempered and violent acts and fits. Nicholas conducted this mass shootings at Storm and Douglas High in Parkland, Florida. Killed 17 and injured 17, while Dylan Although he wanted to attack junior college initially due to the high guard of the campus, he shifted to attack the Black Charleston Church and killed 9 and injured. They both didn't even show sign of wanting to commit suicide. I have many wonderful audience at my Dr. Samurai videos, and one very insightful gentleman commented that the reason we don't see so many suicide with mass shooters nowadays could have something to do with the generation, the characteristics of Generation Z. In addition to the iron rule that abuse to serial offense while neglect to mass shootings, I checked characteristics of Generation Z. There's this site called What are the Core Characteristics of Generation Z by the Annie Casey Foundation. And it says, with the Generation Z, diversity is their norm. That's number 1. Number 2, they are digital natives. That's number 2. They are financially minded. That's number 3. Number 4, many factors contribute to their mental health. That's number 4. Number 5, they are progressive, and also they point out they are shrewd consumers. Out of these 6 characteristics, what seems to stand out is diversity is their norm, and many factors contribute to their mental health. These 2 characteristics I thought may have to do with their mindset. Diversity is part of their characteristics. They saw Mr. Obama as being the first black president, and they witnessed the legalization of gay marriage, multiracial household, and single-parent household, and also mixed gender household are kind of normal. But digging deeper, this diversified values of Generation Z truly come from advancement of capitalism. As you know, capitalism runs on promoting individual interest as being the engine of the system. So to affirm almost whatever customers are interested in, they are going to buy the product, or they're going to pay for such services, right? So diversified values does not actually mean basic values increased in reality. It is that the society accepts more wider variety of individual interests to promote the economy. That means a little strange and weird and aberrant from the norm years ago are accepted normal because it could also lead to profits in this capitalistic society. So being who they are is more okay today than it used to be. This is what the diversified values mean. And another thing, mindsets of Gen Z, is there are many factors contributing to their mindset. There are many social problems happening in today's society, right? That is part of the reason why I am opening this Dr. Samurai channel, social pathology, right? Like racial tensions and wars and COVID-19 and political conflicts, continuous, and on and on and on endlessly. Gen Z have been living in such a time filled with multiple problems and troubles. And as I have mentioned, they are first digital natives. That means they spend more time in front of computers rather than actual people. This site says Gen Z as being the loneliest generation, spending hours online and carrying isolation and depression that comes along with social media prevalence. So, good or bad, they are used to being lonely. These two things are very important. They do weird things, but they don't think it is weird. They don't think it is rejected socially. That's one. And they originally are lonely, using social media all the time. So doing things by themselves are not weird things. Doing weird is not weird in their mindset. And being alone is not strange in their mindset. These were important pillars of Gen Z mindset. Getting back to mass shooters not committing suicide, they attack certain people. That's a weird act, but they don't think it so weird. Getting used to be okayed in this diversified value society. Also, they actually conduct mass shootings on their own, but they are also doing things all the time on their own by themselves. So doing things alone is natural. Shooting who they hate is not that weird. And also, doing that kind of attack all by himself is not strange either. These two, act of mass murder and doing it completely by themselves, are not registered as being weird in the mindset of Generation Z. At least less weird than in the mind of the generation decades ago, like Mr. Stephen Paddock, who did Las Vegas mass shootings. He committed suicide because he was way older in terms of the generation. Committing crimes all by himself does not torment the Generation Z as much as it did to generations before. There is this possibility. That said, I still like to maintain that iron rule I first mentioned stay. That abuse leads to serial offenses, including serial murders, while neglect leads to one-time only mass shootings. In case of Nicholas, I think the element of psychological oppression was stronger, like abusive element was stronger than neglect in case of Nicholas because of that mother's control and way of handling the situation, suddenly pulling off the plugs and so on. While in Dylan's case, neglect was much stronger than unnatural oppressive forces. That's why he retreated in his room totally alone around the age of 20. So if Dylan had been born decades earlier, I think there might have been a higher possibility of him committing suicide. While in Nicholas' case, what Nicholas took as being offensive and oppressive by his mother was stronger. So even if it happened decades ago, it could still lead to him not committing suicide because abusive elements were stronger. Today's value, okay? The early childhood condition was either abusive or neglectful. This is the main thing. But when we think about Generation Z, the youngest generation, we also have to take into consideration that their mindset doesn't think of what we thought was weird as being weird. They have tendency to take weird acts as being more normal because of this diversified value age. And one other thing is they are used to being alone and doing things alone. So act of mass shootings by themselves is not so abnormal because they are doing things by themselves anyway. This Gen Z characteristics you may have to take into consideration in addition to the iron rule of neglect and abuse. This is today's value. Okay? If you like this kind of discussions, please click that red Dr. Summary logos. Also check out my best video playlist. And up until next time, please sharpen your insight when you see those news and incidents on TV, because that leads to you can live through today's problematic wars with a certain level of self-confidence, with deeper understandings of things that happens around you. And please live peaceful wherever you are on this same planet Earth.